You know, the rite of passage is going to watch the sunset at Cafe Del Mar with Jose Padilla, watch him craft that perfect sunset set.
Everybody talks about it.
I mean, Age of Love is probably a similar record in that vein, but there was loads of other these weird Italian labels.
That's one of my favourite tracks, Age of Love.
That record kind of sums up Ibiza, doesn't it? You never saw anyone even with a portable camera, did you?
No, they weren't allowed to take photos because they had in-house photographers.
Private, free experience, and it was wild. I think that was the spirit, the true spirit of Ibiza, you know.
Welcome to the Ibiza Hall of Fame podcast with myself, Clara, and with Big Al. We are at the IMS today, and we have an extraordinary guest, someone who has had a career in music for many decades. Our next guest is known for his progressive house, and also his sets set you onto a long journey. We welcome Sasha into the Ibiza Hall of Fame.
Hello, mate.
Hey.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good to meet you. So we would love to know, when was your first year in Ibiza?
Well, I was just discussing it with Alan, and I think he was the first person to bring me out here.
Well, I didn't bring you out. You were here.
That's right. I think I came out on holiday, and I think I bought a bag of records with me.
Yes, you did, yeah.
Just on the off chance. I'd already started DJing up north and stuff, and I think it was starting to become a thing to go to Ibiza for a holiday. You know, you get a hotel in San An. I just immersed myself in the club culture here. I was out every night of the week, I think, and Q was the venue that just absolutely floored me.
It blew all our minds, didn't
Well,
it?
it was just, I mean, I just felt like an alien there because I was so normal. It was just full of the most weird and wonderful people, and the music was completely different to anything else we were hearing in the UK. And yeah, you sort of walked around there with your mouth open going, what the hell is going on?
I do tell your story quite often, and basically, I started the Mad Mondays at Coup. We were the only ones doing parties other than the clubs doing them themselves. And a friend of mine who knew you were, I didn't know you were. You know, my mate come up to me.
I wasn't playing it, but at that point in 1990, I was only getting my very first gigs in London. I was established up north.
No, but he knew you from up north.
Yeah, a lot of gigs in the Midlands, but I didn't play in London very often in those first early
my friend basically said to me, Sasha's here. I said, yeah. And he said, and I actually got a mixtape. I said, if he's going to play, I need to know what he's going to play. And he said, no, it's Sasha. You can't ask him for a mixtape. I said, no, I need to know what he's going to play. I wish I kept your tape actually. Anyway, so I got the tape. I said, yeah, I love it. Great, he can play. So you played. And so that was your first gig on the island. It's fantastic. I'm glad I was your first gig.
Yeah.
And you asked to play again the next week, and you did. Yeah, 2 weeks on the trot.
Amazing days back then. And then I started getting booked there, coming back more regularly. Then the guys from Leeds, the Uppy Ronson guys, started coming out, so I started coming out with them. We did a couple of things at Coup as well, but yeah, Coup was my favourite club to go out to, and then obviously Space was the afters, wasn't it?
The after party, yeah.
And that was those two clubs.
But things changed a little, didn't it? Because Coup got shut in 1991 because the roof blew off. That's right. So we moved
off, I didn't realise.
Yeah, it blew off, yeah. It crushed a few cars because they made them put roofs on in 1991.
Right, and they just did a cheap one.
Well, no, obviously, it didn't last, did it? So it literally wasn't open. We turned up on the island to do our Mad Mondays at Coup. It was closed. So lucky enough, Francisco from Pachá said, Alan, bring your Mad Mondays to Pachá. And the rest is history. We just carried on at Pachá, but yeah. But it did reopen, but not that year.
Yeah, it's a shame because Coup was such a better name than Privilege, wasn't it?
No, but the big change, I think it was 94.
Oh, was it?
The new owner bought it.
Right.
And it was never as good, was it?
No, it was different. It was a very different club then. Yeah.
You've obviously played at Privilege, didn't you?
Yeah, I did it a few times. Yeah, I did it for lots of different. I played a couple of times on the Manumission, but then I also did. Yeah, I think we did Essential mixes there. And yeah, I've done it a lot, you know. And then obviously now it's a whole different.
A whole different ball. Have you played there yet?
Yeah, I played with Carl's night last year.
Fantastic.
It was one of the best nights of the summer. Amazing. What they've done with it, because the problem at Coup was it was always the sounds. You know, it was all rattling around in there. And what they've done with it now is pretty extraordinary. You know, it sounds like a studio in there. It's fantastic. But the old days, the energy back then, and the wildness of it, the freeness of it. You You never saw anyone even with a portable camera, did you?
No, they weren't allowed to take photos because they had in-house photographers.
Private, free experience, and it was wild, and it was. I think that was the spirit, the true spirit of Ibiza. You know.
We were talking about the Coco Loco bar because I mean, what people didn't realise is that was Brasilio's bar, which he was like the manager of the club, but it was his bar, and that's where all the trannies were. It's where all the madness happened, and the drink they gave out free. And if you got the wink, you were getting one with mescaline in it. So that's why it was even madder than normal.
I think I had that one.
From what I know, your earlier days were sort of the UK underground rave scene. And then when you came to Ibiza, did that kind of influence you to slightly change up your music a bit, or what kind of influenced your music?
Well, I remember the very first trip that I came out here, and I was blown away by what Pepe was doing at Coup. Because they were all the DJs in Ibiza were playing music that I'd never heard before. So Pepe was playing this amazing kind of electronic Balearic sound. Then Alfredo, what he was doing at Pasha was, the Balearic thing and mixing up lots of different styles together. And then on top of that, my other favourite room on the island was inside at Space, the afters. And I can't remember the names of the DJs there because they changed quite a lot, but there was this Italian techno sound at the time that I'd never heard before, and it was bonkers. I remember going to a record shop in Ibiza and buying it all. I did loads of record swaps because I played, I played a few times and got to know Pepe, and we did some record swaps as well. I remember the first time I went back to England after that first trip with half my record box was full of all this new music I'd bought there, which I've been blown away by. And I think the first set I did back, I remember it was in Leeds, I think, at the warehouse, and I played all this music. And my kind of hardcore fans at the time thought I'd lost my mind. Really? They were like, what the is this? But they very quickly got on board with me, and it was just it blew musically.
Listen, if you liked it, they're going to like it.
It was just get you to change. It was such a sharp change from what that Italian techno sound. Age of Love is probably a record in that vein, but there was loads of these weird Italian labels.
That's one of my favourite tracks. Age of Love.
That record kind of sums up Ibiza, doesn't it? That era, but
and it goes on a long time and it takes you on a big journey, doesn't it?
And that rise is mental, isn't it? But I remember going, then I became obsessed with all these Italian labels and started going around different record shops trying to find it. So it really had quite a marked influence on my sound that first trip here. And the attitude of being able to play lots of different genres within one set. That was something I think.
Well, that's what Ibiza taught everybody, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I always like to mix it up anyway, because the DJs at the Hacienda, which is where that was my university as a kid. I went there when I was 18 the first time and was like, what the hell is this? They always used to mix it up with like break beats, hip hop, house music, vocals, techno. It was all mixed up together, but obviously the Balearic way, it had a feel to it that was very different.
Yeah, everybody talks about it. Everyone talks about Alfredo and Pepe and Cesar, because they were the guys who were at the beginning and influenced all you guys.
Yeah, of course.
As soon as you turn up,
well, you couldn't help be influenced by it. You get off the plane, you're a white, spotty, skinny guy from Manchester.
You've never heard a lot of that stuff, have you?
No, not heard any of it really. We weren't exposed to that music, and then obviously, the rite of passage is going to watch the sunset at Cafe Del Mar with Jose Padilla and watch him craft that perfect sunset set. I got to know him later on. I ended up sharing a flat with him in London for a little while.
We're doing a posthumous for him. So it'd be nice to say a few nice kind words about Jose Padilla.
Yeah, he's a great guy, amazing. He was a music professor, really, wasn't he?
It seems to me that I was there, but he created that sunset with the sun dipping into the ocean.
He was a master at it. He just knew, and this is back in the day before he had countdowns, timers on records. He just knew it. Yeah. He just knew how to get that. The moment the sun dropped, the music would just.
Everybody else on Sunset has done what he did.
Well, they tried to. I don't think many people have got close
Jason By's not done a bad job. Jason By's not done a bad job at all.
Talking about records over here, was it good fun? What were the record collections back at the record shops here? Did they have good
How do you
collections?
mean?
Well, there was two main record shops. One in San Antonio. Did you ever buy records from those?
I did on that first couple of trips, but I started hunting out all those labels and stuff and finding that music in the UK. Then after it all started to come into the UK, then because everyone that came here became obsessed with the music. So
it was a very big influence, wasn't it? Them early days.
Eastern Bloc was an incredible resource in Manchester.
So maybe we talk. I mean, Hacienda. You're famous for the Hacienda.
Yeah, I mean, I never had a residency there, but it was where I kind of learned all about music. I'd go every Wednesday, every Friday. I'd try and get there. The club would open at 9 and finish at 2. There's always early finishes in Manchester, but I'd try and get there literally at 9 o'clock.
Get the full.
Well, what I used to really love is listening to the DJs. From midnight till 2, you'd always hear records you knew. The big records of the moment. But what I used to love is sitting on the dance floor and listening to DJs craft that build. Yeah. And 1 week you might hear a record at say 10 o'clock, and then the next week it might get to 11, and then within a month it's at 1 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's going nuts to it, and I used to love the way that to hear a record get broken.
DJs at the time, Graham Park.
Well, Graham Park and Mike did the Friday, and then Mike and John De Silva did the Wednesday. John De Silva was my hero because he was the first person I heard use like sound effects, acapellas, 2 copies of the same record. I was like, what the is he doing up there? Yeah. We'd be re-editing tracks live using 2 copies and stuff like that. And yeah, he really inspired me. I had one of those sliding door moments in my career. I think anyone that has success in their life has a moment where just a bit of luck or magic happens. Yeah. I moved into a block of flats in Manchester, and there's a knock on the door the first day I was there, and it was my next door neighbour saying, "Do you want to borrow a cup of sugar since you just arrived?" And it was John De Silva.
Fantastic.
And I ended up
you were in the right place at the right time.
Just one of those magic moments, sliding door, and I ended up becoming good friends with him, started warming up for him at gigs, and then, yeah.
The rest is history.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But yeah, it was one of those moments, really.
So there's a few set questions we ask on our podcast, and one of them is the magic of Ibiza.
Well, I think we've talked about that. I think the coup. I mean, it's the magic of Ibiza is still here. I still love the island. It doesn't quite have the freedom and wildness that it used to have. But it's still this island has something spiritual and magical here. Yeah,
I feel at home.
Flying over Esvedra, it's there's something very special about this place.
So it's not the spiritual thing, or is it the magnetic, or
I don't know what it is.
We don't. Yeah, it's the magic. It's just the
there's
magic.
There's magic here,
Yeah.
But yeah, back in those days, there was definitely a freedom that maybe is a little bit lost now, but
a little bit more control these days.
But it's still it's still wonderful. Yeah.
You live here, so
I spend a lot of time here. It's hard to put it into words, really.
It is. I mean, some people quite get it, and some people.
I've seen, but it scares some people off though. The intensity of the island is it has a strong.
It can spit you out if you don't.
And I think some people come here with a preconception of what life's going to be like here, and within 6 months they're like, get me out of here.
Yeah, no, it's not for everybody.
Well, it's kind of like a bipolar island, isn't it? Because in the summertime it's absolutely manic, and it's bonkers, and that's quite tough to deal with if you're not prepared for it. I see every summer some people lose the plot a bit. Just not by overdoing it, but just the intensity of the island. It's like you see some of your mates and you're like, you need to get off the island for a week. Also on the flip side of it, it's so quiet in the winter. The drop off in October, sometimes people are like, whoa, where's everyone gone? And they can't handle the quietness. So I love it. I love the extremes, the 2 extremes of it. I love it when it's deserted in January and I can walk the dog and not see anyone. And then I love it in the middle of the chaos as well. So and I love everything in between. So I think people either come here and they're like, right, I'm never leaving, or they come here and they're like, get me the out of here after 6 months.
For sure. Another thing we ask is, who's your favourite DJ?
I mean, my favourite DJs over the years from here have been, the legends, the guys that blew my mind in the first place. I wish I knew the names of the DJs of Inside Space, because those guys took me onto but it was, it was a dark room. I couldn't even see what
Alex P definitely went inside and played, because he did both.
There was a lot of the Spanish guys, local guys that just,
He was the only Brit that did go inside. He was the only Brit.
But it was always my favourite room. room. I loved being on the terrace, but then
very hard,
but then going inside and it was like
very hard. Yeah. It was a bit too hard for me, but I was more happy, hands in the air sort of thing.
Which was great outside there, especially when the roof was off, the planes going over. It was wonderful. But I used to love dipping inside and getting lost for a couple of hours.
Fantastic. So, particularly names, anyone you really stand out to you?
I wish I knew the names of the guys that used to play in there.
It's basically those guys playing the harder stuff inside.
Yeah, because it was just so different to what I was used to hear in the UK.
Hopefully they can watch this podcast.
Yeah, maybe they're watching. Yeah, that would be good.
They're watching and say that was me.
And then more recently, it's the guys I work with and play with all the time. Like John Digweed and Lee Burridge, Craig Richards. Damien Lazarus. So many brilliant DJs.
So talking about John Digweed, you've done lots of compilations with him and stuff like that. And you've done some of your own. You've done an Ibiza one.
I did the Ibiza Global Underground one, which was a big success back then, and that was really exciting to be part of. And I remember when I brought that idea up because Global Underground were doing cities all around the world, and obviously at this time Ibiza compilations were all a bit cheesy. I think there was a Ministry one, and they were usually the
what year was
hits
that?
Of the summer. I'm talking sort of 96, 97.
I did one in 97.
Yeah. So, but a lot of them were commercially angled. So when I remember when I originally suggested, well, maybe we should do Global Underground Ibiza, they were like, no, it's a terrible idea. But they gradually got their heads around it, and we built it around my sets at sort of Space at the time. And obviously we got to take pictures all around the island, and it ended up being I think one of their more successful albums. But it was great to be part of that.
We're looking at one of your albums on these. What's the thing that you can buy an old album?
Yeah, Discogs.
Discogs. Yeah, we were looking on that. Me and Dave Lambert today, funny enough, and one of your albums is going for nearly 400 quid. So obviously it's still got something, hasn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. The vinyl stuff is, they were such limited edition runs, and a lot of people didn't look after them. So if you can get hold of one of the older ones that's in good nick, there's value to that. Yeah.
And talking about music, I guess your music collection is very vast.
Yeah, it's quite big.
If you were to think about 3 tracks in your collection which are timeless, and your most favourite tracks, what would those be? Well,
I've been thinking about that this morning, about what would those tracks be, and obviously you refer to things like the classic Ibiza records, Age of Love being one, everyone, but I've got to think about the set that I played when I did the closing of Space, my beloved Space closed, and I decided, because I never play classics, I'm always forward thinking.
You're always forward,
I might pull out every now and then, drop something old in, but normally it's like I'm trying to play new music and keep things fresh, and I don't like to be too nostalgic. It makes me feel a bit weird. But I decided for the closing of Space that it was appropriate to drop some of those old records. So one of the things I dropped in that set was just, I'd forgotten how good it sounded, and the whole place went mental to it. Like the whole dance floor sat down and then did that exploding, jumping up thing, which the Argentinians always do. It was Body Shine by Billy Hendrix. And that is that record to me is Ibiza. It just sounds like Ibiza. You might not remember it, but when you hear it, you're like, oh, that thing. So there's that. I think Roaches, Trendsetters, when that came out, that was a change in direction of sound with Ibiza, and it was that new DC-10 kind of minimal techie sound, and that was a real turning point. And I feel like that record encapsulates the birth of that DC-10, that whole DC-10 thing.
But you're always more on the techie tip, weren't you? That was more of your style.
Oh, I played that Alter Ego thing that Carl Craig did as well at the closing of Space, and that went down amazing. So I wanted to pick 3 records that maybe not everyone else has.
No, you definitely picked 3. You picked 3 that no one ever else has picked. So that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, I played all those 3 at the closing of Space, and I just felt like those records to me still sound really fresh and encapsulate the spirit of the island for me.
And I think you've touched on who has influenced you. I remember you said that Alfredo. Are there, if you say it's one of them, are there any others?
I mean, I think the person who I owe the most to is Pepe from Space. He was such a friend to me and a mentor, and he was so lovely. He used to look after us, let us stay in his house, pick us up in the car, take us to the gigs, and he was always so warm and friendly, and he loved the music I was playing, and yeah, he really, and you know, he obviously booked me on many occasions to play Space, which was it's always been my favourite room on the island.
He's a genuinely nice guy, isn't he?
He's an absolute diamond, you know. So yeah, he's probably the most important, influential figure on the island for me.
Any other?
I mean, since then, you know, Carl's been, you know, it's been wonderful. Carl's been wonderful, always booking me and John to play his parties. Yeah, but I think Pepe was the one who really, he really kind of put me on the map in Ibiza, got me booking regular gigs at Space, and you know, really looked after me.
Biggest supporter, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Future plans? What you got?
I've got some great gigs lined up this summer. I'm doing 5 to 8. We did 5 to 8 last year, and it was probably
It's a good venue, isn't it?
Oh, it was my best gig of the year, I think, in Ibiza, and probably my best gig in Ibiza for many years, actually. Open air, smiley faces.
And they've done it up. It looks nice as well.
Yeah,
doesn't
it reminds me a bit of the old Space Terrace before they put the roof on it and everything.
He's done a good job there.
Oh, it's brilliant. So that's brilliant. I'll be playing Universe again with Carl, and then I've got a few other little shows. Cova Santa is in there. Pikes.
That's another nice venue.
Yeah, Cova Santa's lovely. Pikes. I think the years of me doing residencies here. I mean, the thing about the residencies that I did back in the day, it's always sounds like a great idea doing it, but when you do 16 weeks back to back, you get to a point in the middle of it, you're like, why the did I agree to do this? You know?
Because then you go rushing here and there and everything to get back to your residency.
If you're doing a Sunday, which I used to do, you've got to get to Ibiza after a big Saturday night somewhere all over Europe or even in the States, you know. Or if you're doing the middle of the week, it just joins all your weekends together, and it feels like your summer is one 3-month weekend. So by the end of the summer, you're like, but then they ask you again next year, and you're like, yeah, come on, let's go. But yeah, I think, yeah, I take my hat off to anyone that can do the full Ibiza residency, because it is physically, mentally demanding for sure.
Yeah, no, it's even longer now, isn't it?
Yes, even longer now.
Yeah, because I think
our ones were always 12 to 14 weeks, but they're a lot longer now.
No, but I've said for years that the island, 16 weeks is not long enough for the season. So now with the IMS, they've started the season early, and they go later now.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty quiet in the rest of May, isn't it? Until June, but it's nice that everything's open. You know, I like to go out myself in May.
Yeah, the restaurants are open, and everything, that sort of stuff. But the clubs are opening earlier and earlier now. You know, it's pretty crazy.
If you can think about some moments of, you've probably had so many extraordinary moments, but if you can think of any sort of standout moments of your career in Ibiza.
Well, I can tell one funny story, which is a bit bonkers. I was DJing at a club in San Antonio, and I can't remember which one it was, Esparadis or...
Beautiful Esparadis.
Yeah, I think it was one of the... What was the smaller venues downstairs?
No, you could do an Eden or Star Club or...
Star Club maybe, I can't remember. It was like 91, or 92, 91, 92, and I was DJing there. And back in those days...
Oh, it could have been Nightlife, just the beginning of the
I can't remember the name of the club. But anyway, I remember I was doing the whole night. Rosala was doing the PA. Everybody's free. Yeah. And but I remember back then I used to get paid cash, you know, and it was all money from behind the bar, so it was dirty cash. You know, sometimes you got a nice envelope with fresh money, but this was Pesetas days, and it was dirty bar money, and they just gave it to me in a plastic bag, and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. They're like, there you go.
You got to walk off of it.
Oh, it was just
you got your record boxes, your bag of money,
leaving the club, get in the car, and my mate's driving, and he's driving this big flash car at the time, some sort of like Land Cruiser or something. And I'm in the car with a few mates. Everyone's a bit worse for wear, including the driver. And they just washed all the streets in San Antonio. So we come down out of the club. We go past the roundabout with the egg on it. That's fine. Get to this second roundabout, and he just goes straight over the top of it because the road was completely wet. He turned the wheel, but he was going too fast. Straight over the top of it. There's Guardia Civil sat right there. So they pull everyone out of the car. I'm sitting there with this bag of dirty cash in my pocket, and they start searching everyone. No one's got anything on them, and they get to me, and they see
bag of money.
And they see, what's that in the pocket? Pull it out, and they were like, come with us, son. So took me to the police station, and I'm like, no, it's DJ money. I couldn't speak any Spanish. They couldn't speak much English at all, and they kept on saying, no, drogas. And I'm like, no. And luckily, directly outside the police station at the time was a big poster with my name on it and my picture on it. And I'm like, look, that's me. And they were like, oh, okay. And I ended up signing autographs for them.
I mean, the police back then, it was Wild West, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Wild West, yeah. So, yeah, it was a lucky escape though.
So the whole reason we're here today, Sasha, is to induct you into our Ibiza Hall of Fame. And it's like you're one of our superstar DJs for sure. And you're very, very welcome to it, mate.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Thank you. There we go. Nice one, mate.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely meeting you as well.
Thank you for having me.
That's going on the wall.
So that's all we have time for at Ibiza Hall of Fame podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and to follow us on all of our platforms. See you soon.